We're doing this. Boom. Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance, weekly scrap number 102. We are back with Rob Backer as the special guest. He is a 19-year veteran of the fire service, currently a captain in Thornton, Colorado on Engine 76. He's written articles. They've been published that you can find him out there, fire engineering and elsewhere, but mostly he is known for the art of reading smoke, which I know what you're thinking because I thought the same thing, but we will get to that. So, my brother, Captain Rob Backer, welcome to Weekly Scrap, episode 102.
Thank you very much for the opportunity and the trust. That there is certainly a high bar to clear with this, so I will do my best.
Oh, you got this. 100%. And I want you to know the bar doesn't come from me. It comes from all those awesome people that agree to come on here every week. So I do understand. Where are we at? Checking here. Looking good. People logging in. Getting it going. Is there anything I missed? Anything to add? Put you on the spot. On the intro.
No, sir.
Okay, perfect. To the audience, get your questions ready. Get your questions ready. I count on the audience of the Scrap to keep us on our toes as we go through this. They have the Scrap has the best audience with the best live questions. So, here we go. Out the gate, I met you back in June. You did the Art of Reading Smoke at the Colony down in Texas. So I drove down there to catch the class because I caught it probably 7, 8 maybe years ago. And I was like, wait a second. I know this class, and this ain't the guy that teaches it. And that's one of the things I asked you. So kind of give the rundown of why Rob Backer is now the Art of Reading Smoke guy.
So I would answer it as the short answer would be completely dumb luck. But I got promoted to lieutenant in 2009, and the Thornton Fire wanted to send all of their new officers at some point through the Art of Reading Smoke. They believed in it. So there was one day I show up and they're like, hey, next week, instead of showing up here, you're going to go to one of the local departments, go to their training center, and go through this Art of Reading Smoke class. We want every company officer going through it. Yeah, okay, no problem. So I go through that class, and Dave Dodson's teaching it, and it was 8 hours. My hand was cramped by 5 o'clock. I wrote notes for like 8 hours straight. And so in that sense, I felt a little cheated because there was 8 hours of videos on the screen, and I didn't really watch any of it because I'm too busy trying to write down verbatim everything Chief Dodson had said. And it blew the lid off of a lot of what I had been taught coming up through volunteerism, coming up through, rookie academy, coming up even through my company officer stuff and things I was taught that Chief Dodson's at the front of the room saying, that's not true. It's scientifically false. Here's the backing to it. So I keep an ear to the ground and ask around to see the next time he's going to be in the Denver area. And it was like a month, 2 months later, he's in there. Thornton signed off on me going again. They paid for it.
Nice.
And so I go again. And it was like a completely different class the second time that had different videos and different rabbit holes of discussion that he went down. So I kind of made a self-commitment, if you will, to attend as many times as I could, whether it was in the Denver area or if I get sent out to FDIC one year and go catch them there. So I probably took it like 15, 20 times as a student before we're on duty one day, go to the store to shop for meals. And it kind of looks like Dave Dodson. And one of the guys on my crew is like, he gives me this look. He's like, yeah, that is. And I go, dude, he shops here. I'm like, yeah, he lives like right across the street from the station. Oh, no kidding. And so eventually, I got to the point where I'd nod at him, like, hey, I know you. But eventually built up the courage, like just tap him on the shoulder, be like, Chief, my name's Rob. I'm a big fan. I've been to the class, so many times. Here's something I'm stuck on. Here's something I can't wrap my head around. How can you explain it again to me? And we started just talking shop in the grocery store. And it goes without saying, I continued attending. And so he got to know me. And eventually, I want to say it was like early 2016, reached a point where he's like, I'm going to hang him up. I've reached that point where I want to travel for pleasure only for leisure, not for business.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to continue teaching the class in my absence? Yes. He goes, would you like to talk to your wife or kids about it first? No, I'm good. Like,
I'm
this is
doing
something
this.
I want, and they will support me on it, which of course they did.
Right.
So spent several months traveling with him, teaching with him, kind of learning the ropes and the ins and outs and stuff like that, until he's like, you know what, dude, you're good. Like go out into the world. I'm kicking you out of the nest. And so it's been about, I don't know, almost 5 years or so of me doing it solo as well. And he still had classes that he had booked, that he had such a long waiting list that he was still filling out. And, he warned me, he's like, I'm going to be honest with you. If some fire department in the Caribbean calls, like, I'm taking that class.
Right.
Yeah,
Right on.
like, this is yours. This is your class. And so I try and open up every class with, this is Dave Dodson's class. This is not me trying to rip something off or anything like that. This is me, out of respect for him and everything that he's taught me, trying to continue to put that message out there.
Right. Right.
That here's the science, here's the why of everything that's going on inside that building.
No, you are the blessed and anointed predecessor, or whatever. Yeah, whatever that word is. That I don't. Yes. Okay, chiming in from Tony Nunes says, "What's up, brothers? Let's do the damn thing." John Shostat III said, "Dan, I mess up your name every time. I'm sorry, John." He said, "Reading smoke is one of the most important tools in the fire service. Saved my life about 20 years ago by a chief that was paying attention. Thank you for sharing your expertise." Robert Ramirez said, "Great topic and solid hat there, brother Corley." Check it out. Yeah, I'm very proud of this hat. I don't know if you guys make this hat or not, but Rob gave me this patch and I sewed it on this Richardson. And I think it's cool as hell, so I was rocking it tonight. That's my needlework, my fancy pants needlework. All right, back to the questions at hand. And audience, if you have questions for Rob, get them ready and fire us at them. My goal here tonight is not for you to give your entire Art of Reading Smoke class on the scrap, but dude, I took, like you said, I had hand cramps from taking so many notes the first time I took it, and then I caught you at the lake, and again, just notes and notes and notes. And if I get a chance, I'm going to try and bring you into my department. That's how much I believe in this class. It is that good, and I don't say that lightly ever. So all that being said, lots of interesting questions to throw at you. The first one I love, and I love this statement, is that flashover is scientifically predictable, and predictable is preventable. So go with it where you want.
So it was, I believe, I'll throw this out as a preface for the entire show. I don't have any quotable quotes. I don't have these profound statements or these lines that I've created. So when I'm confident of who I've gotten the original quote from, I will quote them. But I'm not entirely confident on every single one of them. But they did not come from me. But it's Gordon Graham, I believe, is if it's predictable, it is preventable. And Gordon Graham is one of those speakers that, again, you could write notes forever. The guy is just amazing to listen to. But if it's predictable, it's preventable. So based on the smoke attributes, based on the science, the volume, the velocity, the density, and the color, we absolutely can tell when what's going to happen next to this building is flashover. And as such, if we can predict it, we can prevent it. So that means two things. It means we can either do things tactically to prevent flashover from occurring, or because we're all from different departments, we all have different staffing, responses, resources, capabilities, training, experience, yada, 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 so on and so on. We can prevent guys from getting caught in the flashover by not putting them in the building. And it's a very delicate line for me to try and walk when you start throwing out words like safety. But I have no intention of putting guys into a building that I know we don't have the resources to overcome this. I can't get to them if I'm going to kill crews in between here and where them is. So we could talk about that all night. It is what it is. We can prevent it tactically, or we can prevent it by not putting people in a situation that we're not going to win.
No, and staffing is a definite issue, especially in a lot of that, and your response model, and it changes your decision-making model. There's no doubt about it. So I love it. And you got it. Yeah, people said Gordon Graham, predictable is preventable. So you definitely got that one spot on.
Phew.
This is another one that I loved, which is, this is something I was taught back in rookie class, in 1997, and that is the fire doubles in size every 60 seconds. And so I never knew where that came from until I took your class.
I can't remember if I was taught it doubles in size every 60 seconds or it doubles in size every 30 seconds, but I was taught one of them. And in that was I was a freshman in college, also attending the local community college through a Firefighter 1 certification academy so I could get on as a volunteer. But I remember being taught that, let's just say it was 60 seconds. And my head, it works like an attorney. I'm always thinking about the whatabouts and the what ifs. So my hand immediately goes up and I'm like, hey, if, based on that, it doubles in size every 60 seconds. If I've got two identical couches in front of you and I pour gasoline all over one of them and I light them both on fire, which one's going to grow faster? And everyone's like, well, the one's soaked in gasoline, but they should both double in size at the same rate, correct? Like, how do we conclude 60 seconds? And the instructor, go do push-ups. Don't question me. Right. And because why is he telling me it's every 60 seconds? Well, he's telling me that because that's what he was taught. And he's never seen or witnessed anything to tell him different. And so I've always understood that to be true, but I've always questioned it. And then, going through Dave Dodson's class the first time, he throws it out there. Like it bothered him too. How quickly does a fire grow? How quickly does a fire double in size? And everyone says 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, whatever, but no one can ever point anyone to here's the data or here's the science that explains that. So he started digging into it, wound up having to call a research nerd colleague of his, and I say nerd in a very complimentary context. And that guy steered him in the right direction. And the reality is that came from a early 1970s PSA between a Fire Marshals Association and Burger King.
Yeah, the Burger King deal, yeah.
And they did like a little after school special where some kids are learning about fire safety with a really, imagine animatronics in the 1970s, an animatronic fire truck. And they're just going through the house singing songs about fire safety. And one of the lines in one of the songs is a fire in the growth phase doubles in size every 2 minutes. That statistic was completely made up. There was no science or data to back it whatsoever. The intent of that message was for the general public to understand fire grows fast. Right. Fire is dangerous. Don't screw around with it. Get outside, go to a neighbor's house and call 911. But somehow, the fire service got a hold of that catchy line and it mutated over time. And then, all of a sudden people are teaching recruits and candidates doubles in size every 60 seconds, 30 seconds. So the research now says a fire can grow up to 200 times its size in 2 seconds. There's no more doubles in size every so often because the fuels in our houses now are significantly different, worse in a fire context than they were in the 70s. So it grows a lot quicker, or it's capable of growing a lot quicker. Because even then, if I have two identical couches, even if they're both in gasoline or not in gasoline, there's a number of variables that are going to affect how quickly that fire grows. Ventilation profile, in particular, is it in a closed box, an open box? How much air is it going to have?
Sure. Orientation, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many variables that it's impossible to say every fire grows at this rate.
Love it, man. Love it. Okay. We got some stuff coming at you. David Mellon, Valor Fire Training, says, great topic and routinely one of the least emphasized areas of training. Glad the program is continuing on. Adam Shinover said, Corley Moore back on the Millers. I actually reached out to Miller and seen if they were going to sponsor me at some point, but I don't know how to do that stuff, so we'll just continue on. I think that most people, Tony Nunes said, I think most people that have been in the fire service for 10 or more years was probably taught 60 seconds. Now I would say it's being taught around 30 seconds or less. Jasper Miller said, what are your thoughts on flowing water inside a structure when you encounter heavy smoke?
To put it simply, we should really be flowing water, period, even if we're not encountering heavy smoke. The idea being, in the class, I will teach a number of different products that are found in smoke and what their auto ignition temperatures are. And auto ignition is when there's no ignition source present. It is now hot enough in the right mixture of air, it will light off on its own. And the scariest among them, in that it has the lowest auto ignition temperature, is the gas acrolein, which will light off at 450 degrees. So really, what I will say in the class, I'll throw this out there. I don't want to say scared straight because we talk about it. Flashover doesn't occur at 450, but that first domino falls at 450 when acrolein lights off. So, and then the amount of time from that first domino to that last domino, which is going to be full-blown flashover, can be a couple seconds. So the idea of flowing water is critical to keeping the box cool, or cooling the box, or protective cooling. On the social media training sites, you see it a lot as flow and move, or water mapping.
Right.
It's all the same thing. Keep that box cool, because that box will then, those surface areas will take heat from the smoke. The smoke will cool down. The smoke will stay below 450, and we can prevent flashover from occurring.
Stop that first domino, that acrolein ignition point.
We want to stop that first domino from falling.
Nice. And that's where, and again, it's
full water.
Keep that box below 450 is your first and major goal, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's a big thing I took away from the class.
Absolutely.
So, which is one of my questions later, so we're getting ahead of it, but that's okay. I caught Dotson's class way back in, I want to say 2012, 2013. He came to Oklahoma, and it was awesome. Me and my whole crew went and caught it. What do you think has been the biggest change in the last 10 years as far as the class goes? Whether it be the content or the technology, but just any direction you want to go with it.
Yeah, sure. The fuel concept too. There's three concepts to reading smoke. The second concept is the fuels have changed, and that's one where we're approaching a point where I need to update the slides, because the slides are kind of, hey, since the mid 1990s, the fuels that we encounter have changed, and there's a lot of firefighters now, and I'll be honest, I'm one of them, that didn't start in the mid 1990s. We started after that, so we don't really have any experience with those older fuels, but the fuels continue to evolve, and when they evolve, they are they're getting neater from an engineering standpoint, neater from a consumer standpoint, and significantly more god-awful terrible from a fire suppression standpoint. One in particular that is growing in popularity now is spray foam insulation, mm-hmm. rather than the rolled fiberglass. And there's I want to say it's NFPA 286 test is the ignition and the fire growth or spread of insulation. And they got a side-by-side video, side-by-side room comparisons, where one room it's the studs and rolled fiberglass. The other room, it's the studs, and they've applied the spray foam insulation. They've taken their Sawzall and shaved it down so it's flush, but then there's no sheetrock or drywall on it.
So it's exposed?
It's exposed. They light both off. We're just seeing which one gets to flash over sooner. And the rolled fiberglass takes about 14 and a half minutes, and the spray foam insulation is at flashover in like 40 seconds.
Whoa.
And it's hell in that room within 30 seconds.
No, and that stuff's really gaining popularity too.
Yeah. If you watch, like, every so often, I go down those home renovation show rabbit holes on HGTV, and when they renovate these houses or even build them, they're always using the spray foam insulation now, mm-hmm. which it's awesome. It's really cool. It's more effective, better R rating, and it's great until it catches fire. And once it catches fire, there have been a handful of buildings under construction that have been visible, the flames visible for miles, not just smoke plumes, but flames for miles. And it's the spread of spray foam insulation once it's on fire.
Just the heat release rate on that stuff, just enormous.
I don't have the numbers, which is why I haven't put that formally into the class yet, because it's kind of still new-ish. We can talk about it and we'll discuss it. I don't have firm numbers on that one yet, so it's not in the slides. But I'm waiting on them to come out. I'm looking for them. So if anyone has them,
reach out. Absolutely.
But it's absolutely insane how hot and how fast that fuel burns. And now I finally saw, I had kind of in my mind wondered about it. I finally saw it on Facebook this week. And then the very same day I saw a guy buying it at Home Depot. I think they're terming it LSL, laminated strand lumber.
Right.
But, it's OSB 2x4s for framing now.
Really?
They're now starting to use that. So we're going to have to be dealing with that sooner or later in our building fires, that it's not even going to be actual lumber anymore. It's all going to be engineered lumber.
No, I saw some engineered, it was almost like a little mini truss used for studs. OSB webbing with the one by on the sides. I was blown away. I'm like, seriously.
Yep, here we go.
And it actually creates a channel like we're going back to balloon frame, But anyway, it was crazy.
Yeah, I want to say the resin that they use to glue those wood chips together, I want to say it's a urea formaldehyde resin. So when that gets hot and it starts melting and off-gassing, you're losing the structural integrity of that member, and what you're left with is the tension in between the chips. But secondary to that, you're going to have formaldehyde gas now working its way into the plume, and formaldehyde gas is not good.
Not good for us. No, but okay, I wouldn't even get into overhaul and things like that. But I'll catch you up on BJ Breeder said, good stuff. I heard something like this somewhere, like this argument, decided to Google it. In a half hour of looking around, I found nothing. Nobody willing to put their name on an exact time and growth rate. And so, yeah, I don't know if the variables are so high that I don't know if you could really, especially with the changing of the heat release rates and the
which is why it's capable now of growing up to 200 times its size in as little as 2 seconds. That's flashover. That's how we can go from a room and contents to full-blown flashover, up to 200 times its size. And because some when it gets to flashover, some rooms are only going to be 50 times its size or whatever else. So, but yeah, to that point, like if you Google it, you can't find it. You can't find any data that says it's doubles in size every so many seconds, because different boxes, different fuels, different ventilation profiles, different everything, different boxes.
Open a door, close a door, and the massive amounts of difference. I mean, it's just, yeah. Tony Nunes said, the more insulated it is to keep the outside elements out, the more insulated it is to keep the inside elements in. And that is the downside of those R ratings. But only when it catches fire.
Yeah, they're awesome until they're not.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, there was a while, the department that I was volunteering at, so it's been like 18 years now since I was there, but they were building a few houses with insulated concrete forms, which was like, imagine styrofoam cinder blocks that they were then filling with concrete, which I guess phenomenal wind resistance for like tornado alley or hurricane issues, but like an absolute oven if there's heat inside.
Mm-hmm. No, a lot of the commercial stuff here, instead of being the tilt up, they did a lot of that, especially about 10 years ago or so. The strip malls and things were built using that styrofoam. It's like Lego blocks, and then they pour concrete into them. Yeah. It was, and then they cut the channels out of it for the electric and stuff.
I've seen some like accelerated videos of them using those Lego blocks on construction, and it's some of those, like, those are the visually satisfying videos to watch. Like, I want a Lego house.
Hey, I was actually going to bring up visually satisfying videos, because when they cut that foam, that spray foam for between the studs, that is oddly satisfying also. Okay. Robert Ramirez said, the first time I heard VVDC mentioned over a decade ago by Chief Dotson, I was totally blown away. It really organized all my thoughts on size up and provided a systematic understanding of where the fire was, where the fires were going, and how the box and its contents were reacting to the fire and our actions. Looking forward to attending one of these again. Dude, you will not regret it, because I'll just throw this at you. Here's one thing I noticed between going to Dotson's and then catching yours is the thing I think that's changed is now everybody carries an HD camera in their back pocket, and there's so much more footage that you have to use.
The helmet cameras still tend to suck for the class purposes,
right?
As someone's head is on a swivel. The best videos for the class are those which are stationary and we can watch it. But if they can figure out, even on a helmet camera, like better, they will. Not if, but when, better stabilization, so that it's a stable picture that we can watch even for 5 or 6 seconds. We can take a 5 or 6 second clip and we can watch what's happening. We're not going to get a great read on the rate of change and how quickly that smoke might be changing, but we can get a great read on the attributes over 5 or 6 seconds. So those guys that are running with dash cams, or they can kind of prop up a cell phone at the right angle from a command vehicle, those videos are fantastic, not only for that organization and their after action reviews, but for outside departments to be able to read the smoke, read the conditions, read the changes, compare it to the weather, and do some size up training.
No. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. I said, are you always looking for video footage? Do you want me to have people send you stuff?
I'm always looking for video footage. The issue at hand with a lot of videos is the question of copyright. Right. So the last thing I want to do is use a video without permission of the person who filmed it. So I have reached out to a number of people who post videos and said, hey, like, here's who I am, here's what I do. This video would be great for the class. Would it, can I have your permission to use it? And they'll be like, a lot of people are like, yeah, absolutely, anything to keep firefighters safer, anything to help you do your job better, and it's awesome.
Sure.
There's other people that are like, yeah, man, just send me like a $500 royalty every time you show the video, and I'm like, hey,
Like,
I wish I had that kind of money.
right,
I would love
right,
to send you $1,000 every time, but I don't have that kind of money, and I can't really pay. And how are you going to know how often I use that
right.
video? So I can't pay for the videos, but if I have permission of the person who owns it, which is usually the person who filmed it or the department that filmed it, I'd love to get my hands on as many videos as I can, because that allows the class to have access to a greater library of videos that we can go down any number of rabbit holes. And as a commitment to the firefighters who are in the footage, inevitably, I throw it out as a ground rule. It's a hard expectation in every class, is that we are not going to waste any time judging the tactics of the firefighters in the video, because what are these firefighters doing? There are videos where you watch. It's instinctive to pay attention to the firefighters, and there are videos I have that you go, what the hell are they thinking?
Right.
Like, who taught them that? Well, what they're doing is exactly what they were trained to do, and to their level of experience and knowledge. And okay, well, the guys who trained them should be in jail. Entirely separate discussion, because what were the guys training them teaching? They were teaching them exactly what they were taught and exactly what has worked for them to this point. So we're always teaching with the best of intentions. We're always passing on with the best of intentions. And maybe it's not scientifically accurate, but it does us no good. We're trying to read the smoke and read the building. To spend time on why is this firefighter doing that thing. Sometimes I know, and I'll provide that context if they want to share it. But what they're doing is exactly what they know how to do. And if it's wrong and you were trained better, cool. Like teach us, teach the class, and not in a mean way. Show, what would you do and why is that a better or safer thing? And let's all become better. Now, okay, let's go back to the smoke in the video and ignore the firefighters, because they're doing their damn best, and none of us show up. I've never shown up on a single fire and said, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm going to put forth like 30% of that effort on the fire. Like, we always put out 110% whenever we can. So that's what those guys are doing. Those guys, you think, oh, this fire attack's so screwed up. Okay, it's not helping anyone. Move on.
We're here to learn how to read the smoke, and this is a good version of it. But let's
yeah. And there are departments that'll tell me, like, yeah, we fucked up. We shouldn't have done that.
Right.
Those guys know they shouldn't have done that, and I can provide that context when I know, and I will, because it's instinctive. Every video, everyone at some point is going to pay attention to what the firefighters are doing. And even if we don't say it, we're going to pass a little judgment in our mind, whether that's a great action or a terrible action, but they're doing their best. Give them some grace. Let's worry about the box and what's coming from it for our purposes.
And I don't remember the vehicle, but there was a vehicle with some sick killer rims on that apartment. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and I will provide the class the grace of there are some videos where you're going to see some stuff that is completely separate from anything related to firefighting. We will acknowledge it. We will laugh about it. And then we'll move on.
Right on.
Yeah, it was like a 1990 Crown Vic with like 24-inch blades on it. It's good for you. That's an awesome car.
It was pretty killer. Jason Jeffrey asks, what is the best way to send videos?
The best way to send videos to me, email me, and we could, whether it's capable of being attached to the email, or if it's something big enough that we got to do some sort of Dropbox or Google Drive thing, email me and we can at least get in touch and figure out how to make it work best.
And make sure you want to share it. You're not getting paid $500 a showing, and that you own the video that you're sharing. But
this would be yeah. You have the rights to it. The legal copyright rights to it. Meaning you're the one who filmed it, or your department's willing to give permission to use it, and it's being used solely to better the fire service and educate the fire service, not to pass judgment, not to say this department's they suck or they're great.
Right.
But I do have a lot of I will point out when a department's great. If I've been there and I know these guys, like they're fantastic, I will absolutely give credit where it's due. And that also if there is any context you can provide for, like, hey, here's what was going on, here's why it looks so discombobulated at the beginning, that will help the class too.
Right on, right on. Tony Nunes said a great thing, which is I'm sure there are better ways, but Facebook Messenger actually does a really good job of not distorting videos, and then you can download them to your computer. So that is a good one. I use Facebook Messenger for quite a bit of transfer of pictures, especially because I'm still an Android guy, and iPhones hate Androids. So back to my notes here, throwing another question at you. Someone brought it up, but no, I won't get to that one yet. I'll go to this one. Talk to me about on-scene size up and the phrase light smoke showing.
That's so another part of the introduction is I will say, like, I work for Thornton Fire in Thornton, Colorado, and I am not going to stand in front of you and say that the way that I do things and the way that my department does things is God's gift to you today, and you need to get on my level. You need to do it this way. Because again, different stations, demographics, response plans, SOPs, and so on. So I will make a polite request. Is that after today, when you leave this class, we no longer use the phrase light smoke showing, because when we analyze those 4 attributes, volume, velocity, density, and color, what does light smoke mean? Does it mean light volume, light velocity, light density, light color? Does it mean some combination of those 4? We don't know. It's a very vague, nondescript term. And on top of that, if I'm first due and you hear me get on the radio and say, hey, engine 76 is on scene, 2-story single family residential with light smoke showing, be honest, when you're second due, third due, fourth due, what's going through your head is this is nothing. It's already out. It's a hand job. It's a single engine response. How come he hasn't canceled us yet? And you let your guard down. Light smoke showing means you have a working fire. You have fire somewhere. And just because only a little of it is able to escape right now does not mean it's an insignificant fire. You have something burning. And until we get in there and get to the seat of the fire and determine what it is, we don't know right now. I shouldn't say we don't know. There's the potential that we don't know how big it is. But I have videos of light smoke showing that within a couple minutes are defensive.
Right.
Because it was light smoke showing, or maybe even nothing showing, depending on which clip you look at, and they're bailing out of the building in a minute, and 2 minutes.
Right. No, I love it.
Light smoke showing makes everyone let their guard down. So a polite request: don't say light smoke showing anymore. You stick with nothing showing, smoke showing, working fire, and if nothing's showing, nothing's showing. That still doesn't mean you don't have a fire. So it just lets everyone keep their guard up, that you're being quick and succinct, which is what we want on a size up. We don't want to hear a full-blown smoke read. We don't want to hear me get on scene and say, okay, on scene, 2-story single family residential with laminar, medium-ish volume, dark gray. No, we're on scene, smoke showing. Keep it short, keep it simple, and move on, and don't let anyone let their guard down.
Which is a perfect segue for me to ask, because one of the things I loved when I took your class at the Colony was you were right out the gate saying, here is what I hope you get out of this class, is that when you pull up and set the parking brake and you look at that building, you're going to, within a few seconds, have a mental picture of you go ahead. You say it so much better than I do, but go ahead. The purpose of it.
The intent beautiful. Of the class, there's 2 goals that I have for myself, or 2 expectations of myself that I will share with the class. Number 1, that when you leave here today, you say, I'm glad I came to this class. Even if you didn't have the opportunity, even if you were voluntold, like, hey, Rob, you're going there next week, don't come to the station. I want you to be able to leave saying, I'm glad I came, this was worth my time. And number 2, that you're able to say, I have something that I can immediately implement on my next fire. That if you've never done it before, if you've never been through the program before, the goal is to, in a 5 to 10 second visual of a building on fire, definitively and scientifically be able to say, here's where the fire is, not inside the building, but the fire is on the 2nd floor, Bravo Charlie corner, which based on the layout of the building is most likely a bedroom. Where is the fire? How big or how progressed is the fire? Where are we in that fire's growth chart? What's the fire going to do next, specifically related to hostile fire events, backdraft, flashover, and smoke explosion? And how much time do we have until next happens? And we want you to be able to answer that in 5 to 10 seconds. Why 5 to 10? Because when your apparatus, whatever it is, pulls onto the block where the fire's at, as you're driving up, you're going to have about 5 to 10 seconds before that air brake gets pulled, and that little flicker goes on in the back of your head that I need to be on the radio giving a size up. So if you have the answers to those 4 questions and can then extrapolate that into, here's what my first 3 assignments are.
Right on.
The first 3 assignments I'm going to make or give. You've got it covered. You've got it down. You know, the size up and that IAP implementation is the most difficult part of any fire. If you can dial that in 5 to 10 seconds, it's going to be smooth.
No, it's great. And right there, that being the purpose of the class is the whole reason I want to bring it in to my department and give it to those young officers that are out. I really want all 3 shifts to go through it, man. That's how. Yes, sorry, I won't sit there and belabor the point. Rob brought it up. Velocity, volume, density, color. Most important one to you, and why?
Velocity is most important. Velocity is king, and the reason being, velocity is the reflection of heat. The hotter the smoke is, the faster it travels. So your read on, is the smoke laminar or turbulent? Is it slow or fast? Is your single most important read. Now, one of the hurdles to reading smoke is you have to read, or you have to inventory all the smoke. So you may have turbulent smoke pouring out of that open front door when you pull up. You've got to pull yourself, acknowledge it, inventory it, pull yourself away from that hypnotic, intoxicating visual, and make sure you see if there's smoke coming from anywhere else in the building, because then you can start comparing. How does the velocity here compare to the velocity there? What about the color and the density and the volume? And that's going to help you dial in, here's where the fire is, here's where we're going, here's how we're getting there. The reason velocity is most important, and this pertains to that term, water mapping, cooling the box, protective cooling, whatever. Smoke is always going to be hottest where it is first produced, which is right at the flame tips. That's always where it's going to be hottest. So it's going to be turbulent. Flame tip smoke is always going to be turbulent. But then as it travels through the box, meaning if you have a fire in the corner of the room, it's going to travel up that corner, up the walls, until it hits the ceiling, and then it's going to start traveling out, and it's going to start mushrooming down. Well, as it's traveling across surfaces and up through and across the box, it's transferring heat. So the heat in the smoke is transferring to the surfaces via conduction, convection, and radiation. And sheetrock or drywall in particular can absorb a tremendous amount of smoke, or a tremendous amount of heat. So as those surfaces absorb heat from the smoke slows down. And that's why you will see slow or laminar smoke coming out of the boxes. The box is still absorbing heat. When you have smoke that is coming out turbulently, the box right there is done absorbing heat, because everything that can absorb heat has a threshold or a limit of what it can absorb. And once it reaches that threshold and it can't absorb anymore, it'll start reflecting heat back onto the smoke. And when it starts reflecting heat, between where the smoke is first produced at the flame tips and where it leaves the box, it's not going to slow down, because all the heat that it's trying to give away is being reflected back on it. So it still retains that heat. It's not slowing down. It'll be turbulent. And so that's why the number one takeaway, if you forget everything that we talk about for 8 hours or 4 hours or however long the class is, you need to remember turbulent smoke that fills the box equals imminent flashover. If we have turbulent smoke coming out of the box that has filled the box or has good volume to it, that is imminent flashover. The next thing that fire is going to do is flash. And it begs the question, how soon is imminent? Well, like we've kind of been discussing, every fuel load, every box, every ventilation profile is different. So there's no data to say it's 8.3 seconds or it's 2 minutes and 28 seconds, but it's imminent. The next thing that's going to happen to that box, if you do nothing, is flashover. And I'll throw it out there, is doing nothing a terrible thing? It depends. Do you have enough toys to get in front of this thing before it flashes? If you do, go nuts, do it. The goal, I want to be as aggressive and offensive as we possibly can be, but ultimately it's very important to recognize when we cannot get ahead of this one and it is defensive. So if nothing is done, nothing might be setting up master streams on all 4 corners, but If nothing's done, it's going to flash. The next thing it's going to do, it's going to flash. So we need to make a decision. Every company officer or first arriving firefighter needs to make that decision. Do I have the capability on my rig, and with how long it's going to take other rigs to get in behind me, do we have that capability to get in front of this thing before it flashes? If you do, mask up, get in there. If you don't, potentially you'll be going defensive on this. That's right. Okay.
No, absolutely. No, yeah, 100%. And it's the read. Daniel Barr said, I can't write fast enough. And Valerie Tesler said, me neither. Trust me, if you go to the class, it's like, this is just a taste. When you get the slides, the videos, the examples, you'll get a hand cramp, just like Rob did when he first went. I had like 8 pages, I'm not lying to you, of just page after page after page from the art of reading smoke. Number 1, do not stare at the fire. Number 2, inventory all the smoke. So, and then right here you can see it real big. No light smoke showing. Those are very important things. Takeaways.
That's another if you will, pledge that I make to every class. I can go through 50 different points of instruction. It does me and it does you no good if I just keep moving on. If there's something that a student, a firefighter, hey, can you go over that again? Can you talk about this again? Do you have another video that shows a good example of this? I would rather spend 8 hours on like 2 or 3 things so that everyone in that room leaves with a concrete understanding of those 2 or 3 things rather than a really mediocre understanding of 50 things, because that's when they leave and they start saying a fire doubles in size every 60 seconds, or the color of smoke tells you what is burning, or any number of other falsehoods that are still kind of spread throughout the fire service.
Awesome. No, Tony Nunez, and he said, let's touch on that inventory smoke. I'm intrigued, which again, if you take the class, it's a lot easier because he has his videos and his pictures to give the examples, but you can touch on inventorying the smoke.
So and I'll even touch on stop looking at the flame. Those are the 2 biggest hurdles to properly reading smoke. Is the biggest hurdle. You have to stop looking at the flame. Like if you roll up and you see orange, neat, okay, acknowledge it and move on, because physiologically and psychologically we have been conditioned to stare at the orange. You need to learn to overcome that. Over the tens of thousands of years of evolution, your eyes now are going to pick up on light first and motion second, and flame looks really good in both categories. So you are going to see flame. It's the first thing you're going to pick up on. Acknowledge it, inventory it, move on. The second one is inventory all the smoke, and the same thing exists with smoke. If you have a column of super turbulent, chugging, churning, angry, violent, agitated smoke coming from the eaves on Alpha Bravo, you're going to see that most likely before you see any other smoke. If you get fixated on that and you miss the thin black fast smoke coming from the Delta side, and anytime you see thin black and fast, you have fire that is immediately nearby and well ventilated. If you get focused on this smoke here and you don't inventory that smoke there, you are missing the location of the seat of the fire. So you need to take inventory of all the smoke that you see, compare it to each other, compare the velocities, the densities, and the colors, and that's going to help you really dial in the exact location of the seat of the fire.
Beautiful. Answer it, Tony. And then Christy Watson said, let's get an art of reading smoke class segue to a Chief Starnes thermal imaging class. Let's go. 4 exclamation point. Great nuggets. I'll sign up.
Yeah, I would too.
That's awesome.
I'll get up and teach half, and then I will be front and center for the second half, or vice versa.
So you touched on it, and I wanted to get this in here, which is talk to me about the myths of smoke color, because again, back in my rookie class in '97, I was taught so many things. But go ahead.
Smoke color is my personal easy button.
Excuse me.
I was taught the same thing. I was taught the color of smoke tells you what is burning. Mm-hmm. If you have black smoke, that means there's hydrocarbons. If you have gray smoke, that means, I think I was taught gray smoke is wood. White smoke means plastics are burning. And brown smoke means, later on I was taught brown smoke means the structure is on fire. The problem I had with that from the start, and again, in that first academy, raising my hand, hey, white smoke is plastics. Where do plastics come from? Plastics come from crude oil. Crude oil is a hydrocarbon. How come those hydrocarbons are white, but other hydrocarbons are black? And that poor firefighter teaching that class, part-time, no. So part of me felt bad for questioning him when I knew he probably didn't have the answer. But the reality is the color of smoke tells you the stage of heating of the fuel. Are we in early stage heating? Are we progressing? Are we at late stage heating? So late stage heating is combustion or burning or flame, and late stage heating will always be black. And those who think, no, it means hydrocarbons. Well, think about drag racing when those guys are lining up for their race. And I'm not an aficionado, so if I'm missing terms, I apologize. But they always spin their tires for a while. And what kind of smoke do those tires put off? It's
Huge
white.
white billowing, yeah.
White, because clean pristine white is early stage heating. They are warming up those tires. Those tires are undergoing early stage heating, even though they're hydrocarbons. So if they were to keep spinning them, that white is going to progress to black because all of the moisture content from the early stage heating is now gone. Now we're at late stage heating and it's going to be black. So late stage heating or burning is always going to be black. Now, the things that are in smoke that make it black, very heavy, very sticky, so they stick to whatever they touch, including firefighters and victims, and they're also very heavy. So as they travel over a distance in a box, they're going to start to trickle out just due to gravity over a large distance. So the smoke that you see coming from the eaves, for example, probably is not going to be black because to push through that opening that is the eaves, which is a very restrictive opening, it's sealed off to prevent water and wind from coming in. The black is sticking to whatever it touches. So you're going to see lighter shades of gray on the other end. Most likely, there are always asterisks and always variables.
Right,
but
right.
As smoke gets filtered, it gets lighter in color. So you're not always going to see black smoke right off the flame. Well, you always see black smoke at the flame tips, but by the time you see it outside and that smoke's gone through the box, over, under, around, and through things, it gets filtered by distance and through resistance. So you're going to see lighter colors on the other end. So that the clean, pristine white that dissipates quickly, that's water, that's steam. That's early stage heating. The first thing any object gives off when it's initially heated is its moisture content. So for almost everything, that's going to be water. And so early stage heating, you're going to see steam. We're also going to see steam when we are cooling because we are applying water and achieving steam conversion, and we're cooling it. But between the clean, pristine white and the dark black, all that smoke gets filtered. That's where you're going to see your grays. The brown, in terms of brown, is the structure burning. I'll give credit. I'll give half credit on that one. Almost every object is going to give off water as its moisture content when it's heated. Unfinished, untreated natural fibers, wood, wool, cotton, silk, whatever else, if they are unfinished and untreated, they get off or give off what scientists call cellulosic organics, which is a fancy term for the liquid pulp that holds natural fibers together. It's their moisture content. Those cellulosic organics are brown. So when you have brown smoke showing, those untreated, unfinished natural fibers are going through pyrolysis or early stage heating. They are giving off their moisture content to cellulosic organics, which you are going to see as brown. So where in any house are you going to have unfinished, untreated, native, natural fibers? It's going to be the structural components, the 2x4s, 2x6s. So brown smoke is if you will, a red flag for structural collapse. Yes and no. The structure's being heated. The structure is undergoing pyrolysis. Those structural members are losing their structural integrity. So you need to be concerned that we have progressed beyond a room and contents. We are progressing towards a structure fire. But brown smoke, the visual of that alone does not in and of itself mean you cannot get on the roof or that there's imminent collapse. You just need to understand the structure is being weakened. The strength of that house is being weakened. We will be progressing towards collapse, but that's not necessarily a red flag for, oh my God, it's got to be defensive. Oh my God, we can't get on the roof.
Sure. No, I don't want to slow you down because you're on a roll and it's really fun to listen to. But I want to say that brown being that unfinished, untreated, that natural. I don't even want to try and say the word you said, but the unfinished, it's giving off its moisture. Is it a point where it switches to black pretty rapidly? Yeah. What's the time frame? I mean, I know I can't pin you down, right?
Too many variables to say it's this many seconds, but once that moisture content is gone, we've progressed, we are progressing from early stage to late stage. So for most objects, it's that clean, pristine white, the water or the steam. For the unfinished wood, it's going to be the brown. Once that moisture content's gone, now we're going to be at late stage heating and combustion, and it's going to give
Right.
off black.
Right on. Okay.
And then the black, as it travels through resistance and over distance, the black gets filtered into lighter shades of gray. And if the black gets completely filtered out, you're going to be left with dirty white, a white that's kind of dirty, ugly looking, and it does not dissipate. And that dirty white is ash, and you get ash from any flame, anytime, anywhere. Even a Bunsen burner that's completely clean burning, it's going to produce ash. So that's what your dirty white is. The yellow is interesting.
That's the one I want to say, because that's one I learned. Yellow means backdraft. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that's another thing I was taught early on was yellow smoke is a red flag for backdraft. And okay, well, how do we know? What does yellow smoke mean? Well, yellow smoke means backdraft. Why? And I never got the answer until the first or second time through Dodson's class. Normal oxygen concentration in the environment's about, let's call it 21%. Inside a burning building, we're going to be at less than 21% because the fire is consuming oxygen as part of its fuel, but also there is an increasing volume of smoke being produced. That smoke does not get produced in a vacuum. It wants to maintain equilibrium. So that smoke being produced is also excluding more oxygen from the box, which is why we come into vent limited fires. So pre-flashover inside a burning building, we're going to be below 21% oxygen. We're going to be in like the high teens, like 17, 18, 19%. If you have an environment that is extremely hot and very vent limited, like if we get into the low teens, 12, 13, 14% oxygen concentration, you will see an increase in the production of sulfur compounds. Sulfur is yellow. So when you have yellow smoke showing, you have extreme heat and you're in the low teens. And at extreme heat, we are probably well past the auto ignition temperatures for a number of fuels inside that box. But we do not have enough oxygen in that box to initiate that auto ignition and sustained combustion. So at that point, opening a door or opening a window, breaking out a window, that sudden fresh breath of air is what's going to allow enough oxygen in the box to raise that concentration to where those fuels will auto ignite. You initiate, instead of ignition, you really get detonation, and that's that backdraft explosion.
And that's the yellow, the sulfur compounds being.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Sorry, I gotta get my notes back here. Love it. Myths of smoke. You already touched on cooling the box, that magic number, that 450 degrees, because that is the first domino. So you touched on the chain reaction. So one thing I wanted to ask you about, Zoom meetings and the rise of the online class. How has that affected teaching for you?
So I had a class booked in Colorado in like March of 2020, and I want to talk about 2020 as little as possible. But that department, about a month out, they reached out to me and they said, "Hey, because of all the restrictions and because of all the need to socially distance, we're wondering, can you do the class on Zoom?" And rather than in person. And my response, in all honesty, was, "What is Zoom?" Right. I have never heard of it. And I would imagine most people at that time hadn't heard of it. And they're like, "Oh, it's so cool. It's how we've been doing our entire rookie academy is via Zoom. You can do it online from your house. It's a live video stream." And I said, in all honesty, like, do you have a setup at your training center? Because I don't know how much bandwidth is required. I don't know if I have that bandwidth at home. So I did a class with them. There was about 30 rookie students, and I'm in their training center, and then there's like their training captain sitting like 40 feet away from me, socially distanced. And I did an entire 8-hour class over Zoom, and kind of walked away from that one going, there's something to this. So I started playing around with it at home, starting with creating private Zoom meetings, just having my wife log into it.
Right.
And like, hey, what's the video quality look like? Like, is it all choppy? Because if it's all choppy, it's not going to be worth it.
Right.
And we found a combination of settings that made the videos, they're not choppy, they're pretty smooth. You can hear me, I can talk over it. You're not having to watch my video, you get to watch the videos on the slide. figured out all those settings. So then started, because, we were all at that point stuck at home. Hey, let's do some classes for charity. So let's do a 90-minute art of reading smoke class. I did a little research, and Eventbrite was the best website for my needs, and keeping the fees low. Donate whatever you want. It's got to be at least $1, but donate whatever the hell you want. Let's do 90 minutes of reading smoke, and we'll give, however much is collected, we'll give that money to a different firefighter charity every month. And so I advertised that on like a Facebook page. I shared it to a couple training sites, and I think those 100 seats sold out in like 20 minutes.
Right, instantly.
Which was awesome. And all of a sudden, like, we raised like $1,000 for charity with a 90-minute class.
That's awesome.
That as soon as Eventbrite gave me that money, I donated that exact amount to that charity. It's like, it's awesome. Let's start doing this. And then the only thing I don't like about the art of reading smoke is the conference classes, which are typically 90 minutes. That's like scratching the surface. It's almost like the drug dealer giving you the free sample, and then hoping, or expecting you to come back for more, because there's only so much we can get to in 90 minutes. But so then I started, okay, what if we do a 90-minute class and a 4-hour class? Because even though the full class is 8 hours in person, there's just not as much organic interaction online as there is in person. So I can get through all the material in 4 hours, and there's questions here and there. So over the course of last year, did enough 90-minute classes, like 6 or 8 of them, wound up raising like $10,000 for different firefighter charities. The caveat to that, and the reason there haven't been 90-minute classes this year yet, I'm more than happy to pay a CPA to do my taxes. Like, here you go. Like, I don't want to miss anything up on TurboTax. And he pointed out to me, you're going to have to pay taxes on all of that $10,000 that you donated, because new tax law this and new tax law that. So I took quite a tax hit for
your charity work, right?
So what I need to do is basically link up directly with the charity, so that charity gets those funds directly and it doesn't go through me as a middleman. And I just haven't been able to get to that yet. But then the 4-hour classes where we go through everything, it's nice because we go through everything. It's also fairly badass. I've had a class where, like, on the live stream, talking tactics back and forth and whether they would go offensive or defensive, is an on-duty crew in Maine debating tactics with an on-duty crew in New Zealand, which was like, awesome. It was fun to just kind of sit back and let that organic discussion go back and forth. And so on the Zoom classes, you've got firefighters from like all over the country, answering questions, asking questions, comparing answers, it's really cool. But it's not the same, selfishly. It's not the same as the in-person class.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
There's so much more organic discussion when it's in person. And the worst part about the Zoom class is, in order to make the video stream smoothly, I have to embed them into the PowerPoint. So when we do an online class, it's going to be these videos are what's going to be shown. In person, we can go down rabbit holes. And when someone says, do you have another video about that? Yep, let's pull up that video and watch that. So,
no, I've seen you do it, because you opened up folders in there, and there's just hundreds of videos. You're like, hold on, I'm looking for a specific one. Here it is. This is what you're talking about.
I want you to see this video.
This one right here. Now check this guy out right here. Yeah.
So the in-person classes are definitely, in my opinion, the student's going to get more of them. But the nice part about the Zoom class is, instead of, hey, Rob, how much would it cost to fly you out here, put you in a hotel, get a rental car, and do 3 days of classes, an individual can say, yeah, I'll throw a few bucks at signing up for this class. And not only do you get the live stream, but you get like 30 days to watch it as many times as you want on demand, which as those classes, they sell out. And that's been a lot of fun to have firefighters from all over the country, and even all over the world, participating together and comparing answers.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Dude, I love it, dude. I'm telling you, man, so much information has come from this scrap already that I'm going to rewatch it and take notes. And I've been to the class twice this year, like I said. I like to ask every guest if they have a book or books that they think firefighters should be reading. So, Rob Backer, what is your book or books that you think firefighters should be reading?
For actual self-improvement, if you want to be a better person, and I heard you reference it at Revolutionary Fire Tactics earlier this summer, Leadership and Self-Deception, by the I have it right here, by
Harbinger.
the Harbinger Institute. That is an eye-opener book, basically making you realize that anytime there's disagreement, you're half the problem. Even when you know you're right, you're still half the problem. And you need to approach discussion a lot differently than you probably are. And it's one of those books where like I read it and then I reflect on myself after like every couple pages where I'm like, I'm an ass and I need to be better. Uh,
Yes.
and I even went to my wife. I'm like, dude, I'm like 2/3 of the way through this book. How are we still married? I'm sorry. Like,
Dude,
I owe you.
100% the book changed. Like, there's two books that changed my life, and for different reasons, but that book changed fundamentally my relationships with people. So,
Yeah, and it's honestly it's one of those books, and I do not do this really, but it's one of those books where I'm gonna need to reread it every few months really to really grasp it, understand it, and be able to apply it.
phenomenal, phenomenal.
And then I know it's been mentioned before, 3,000 Degrees,
Hmm.
the story, and I'm going to butcher the city's name, but is it Worcester? I'm from Denver. I'm not from the East Coast, but the Worcester cold storage fire, unbelievably powerful book. And then, in all honesty, there are times where I don't want to be in the fire service in my mind. Dan Brown books
Oh,
with
nice.
the Da
You might.
Vinci Code, Angels and Demons. If you're a history buff, how that guy is able to take actual facts, actual historical events, and weave this, oh my God, Illuminati conspiracy story around it. I do like those books.
I love Dan Brown. I love fiction, and you might be the first person to suggest a purely fictional.
I I have been racking my brain and watching episodes like how am I going to give an answer that hasn't been given 5 minutes
All the
already?
low hanging fruit is gone. Like, it's gone. The trees are bare. The low branches are bare, and which brings me to the 5 questions for firefighters. Speaking of all the low hanging fruit being gone, we have a thing we do on every scrap. It's called the 5 questions for firefighters. The answers are 100% your opinion, and the points are completely arbitrary and passed out by me. So, Rob Backer, are you ready for the 5 questions for firefighters?
I am ready.
Let's do this. And just as a plug to everybody watching, the next 5 questions are coming. I'm trying to decide an actual cutoff date to when it's going to happen. But if you have ideas for them, Tony gave me one at Water on the Fire. Um, Other people have given. I think I've had 3 or 4 suggestions. I need more questions for the next 5 questions. So get them in. Send them to me any way, shape, or form. Text, Facebook, Twitter. I don't care. All right, back to Rob. Number one. What is the number one issue facing the modern fire service?
I've given a lot of thought. I really value some of the other answers that have been given. I wanted to say social media is the biggest threat. Um, I want to refine it to arrogance, and arrogance isn't even a modern problem. It's probably been around forever, and it's not just in the fire service. Um, Whereas social media in concept is one of the greatest uh, proliferations of knowledge or the capacity to get more knowledge for us. It's when you get the arrogance involved and guys throwing out in the comments, this department sucks. That these tactics are terrible. Who the hell does this guy think he is? When that arrogance and that ego gets involved, that's what's going to prevent us from having an open mind, from moving further, from progressing, from learning, from understanding, because our ego will not allow it, or our ego will not allow it with us bringing attention to ourselves first. I generally, as a default, I just stay quiet in the comments section. I stay quiet in class unless I have a really pressing question, just because I don't want to get ego involved. And so it's the ego and the arrogance, I think, are the things holding us back most.
Beautiful, dude. I love that because ego's been said before, and I don't know if anybody's ever actually said arrogance. But what I love about your answer is you melded the social media, and the ability to be so arrogant on social media. It's like it's almost like a magnifying glass. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
like
that's
I want to say social media is the greatest thing because Because look at what we're able to do right now that we would
now.
not be able to do without social media and without the internet. But if we take it and we twist it to our own selfish ends and to stroke our own ego and make ourselves feel better and bring other people down, that doesn't accomplish anything.
Very nice. Very max point. 100%. Christopher Snow said it. Answer number 1, nailed it. All caps. Yes, 100%. Very nice. Okay, number 2. What is the thing you are most excited about for the future of firefighting?
I'm gonna blame Todd Edwards for stealing my answer, but that is
I love that.
the rise of the regional fire conference. FDIC is awesome. The big fire conferences are awesome. The rise of the regional conferences, which is in large part due to social media, which is why I can't say it's the worst thing. But the ability to advertise smaller conferences or smaller classes on social media. If you look at what David Woodward's doing out in Missouri with revolutionary fire tactics, like I had every intent. he invited me out to go out there this year for that conference again, and it's an awesome conference. We had every intent of my entire family going out, wife and kids, because they can go do stuff on the lake, they can go do stuff in town while I'm selfishly getting to do fire stuff, and it's the access to the instructors, the small intimate settings where you feel like these instructors are now one of you. They're not this godlike figure on a stage in front of 3,000 people at FDIC. They are one of you who is just sharing what they've learned and what they want to try and make everyone better with. And you can go up to them after class and have a conversation with them, have a beer with them, at the bar afterwards. So it's the rise of those smaller. They're smaller for now. They might not be much longer, but right. the regional conferences is awesome.
100%, brother. I cannot disagree. Yeah, I'm not trying to give you. Go ahead.
No, when you're not bound by like the liability waivers of a corporation, and you can say like, let's do actual hands-on training and let's do some shit that might not be within SOPs, but it's effective and it works, and play with it. Like, that's awesome.
No, dude, 100% nailed it. Again, max points on question 2. Because that might be my answer. Like, Todd Edwards stole our answers, is what I'll say. Mm-hmm. So, that Todd guy. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I was reading comments. Okay, number 3, distracting. Best rank or position to be in the fire service?
Company officer.
Hands down.
And I gave it thought. That's not something I come to lightly just because I'm in that role currently. It's a lot of fun to be the firefighter, and as has been said on here before, the guy that does the thing. That's a lot of fun, and I may have volunteered my firefighter to be the company officer at live fire training so that I could be the guy on the nozzle that does the thing. That is fun, but to be the company officer, it's an awesome responsibility and an awesome weight to deal with. To say, we're first in. I've got this emergency. There's people screaming, and it's on me to come up with this size up, this IAP, put that plan in place, and make this scene better, and save someone's day, potentially save someone's life, and to help that crew, that firefighter, help that firefighter do that thing, is more rewarding than anything else. And to accept that responsibility of this either goes well and your crew, you give your crew the credit for making it happen,
right,
or it goes poorly and you take the blame.
There it is. Yeah.
That's an awesome responsibility that I enjoy being tasked with.
That's awesome, brother. No, dude, 100%. If you know me, you know my answer, and you know how to, I mean, yes, great answer. Max points, number 3. Number 4, best advice you have ever received.
So this kind of dovetails into that leadership and self-deception. And the core concept of that book. I had a battalion chief that he was stationed out of my station, and I don't know what it was, but our personalities meshed, and frequently on a shift, I would be in his office, and it would start off as small talk, but inevitably we would have, fixing the fire service discussions,
right.
Sometimes till 2 or 3 in the morning,
right,
before we would realize it was that late and actually acknowledge that we need to go to bed. But he gave me I don't know if you want to call it a story. The word's escaping me right now as to what it's called. But he said, imagine in this scenario, imagine a quarter does not exist. There's no such thing as a quarter. And there's you and three friends, and you're all standing across from each other, kind of in a square or diamond or whatever. And this quarter, which does not exist, is floating, hovering in between the four of you. And you are tasked with describing what you see so that we can all agree on what it is in front of us. And you're going to offer up that what you see is a silver disc, a silver circle with an embossed head on it, and maybe some numbers and a couple letters. And the guy across from you is going to say, no, you're full of shit. It's a silver disc, but there's an eagle on it, and in his wings are spread, and he's holding an olive branch and arrows. And the two guys on the side of you are going to say, you're both high off your ass. It's a vertical line with horizontal ridges across it. Who amongst the four of those people is right?
Right on.
They all are. And who amongst them is wrong? None of them are. You need to understand the perspective that other people have in order to come to a consensus or a conclusion on what's really in front of you. You need to understand that what you have in front of you is not everyone else's perspective, and you need to have the maturity to acknowledge other people's perspective, which is that's a lot of what's in leadership and self-deception, and it's a lot of that was one of my light bulb moments in the fire service of it's so easy, especially as a company officer, when you see it at a training or a scene, why the hell did you do that?
No, I love it.
Understanding how that comes off and understanding that guy was doing the absolute best that he knew how to do. So maybe as a company officer, if this guy's not doing it right, maybe that's my fault for not training him properly and not building that situational awareness and that recognition. That has transformed me as a company officer and, in turn as an instructor to not dismiss anyone else's perspective or opinion.
I love it, dude. And what I really love about it is you made it, you explained it. This goes to your instructor ability, so it's a compliment. You explained it in a way that even a truckie could understand it.
I might throw that out in class a few times.
So there you go. No, beautiful, man. I love it. I love the analogy. I love the picture. I love everything about it. Max points on your best advice you ever received. So number 5 is heavy fire, searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on VES?
The preface being, I am a kid in a candy store, and anything's great. It's
right. Okay.
It's a quick side note. Some of the other best advice I've received is, and this is an oversimplification, but being told, look, there's one guy that gets to have fun on every fire, and that's the first in nozzleman. The responsibility of everyone else in that fire is to make sure that guy has fun and to support him in having fun. Now, if you're assigned search or VES, does that mean that's not fun and we're just there to help? No, there's a lot of shit that's fun. But so I'm when you ask that question, I'm a kid in the candy store. There's not a wrong answer. But I am engine guy through and through. I want to be on that line. Put the fire out, and 90% of your problems go away. As a colloquial saying. That being said, if I roll up and we determine first due VES is more appropriate, I also like the Chief Reinwald answer of take the line through the window.
Love it.
Yes, best of both worlds. Yes. I take it all. But having to choose one or the other, I want to be on that line flowing water.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And the thing is, there's no wrong answer. That's the beautiful thing about all these is there's no wrong. It's strictly your opinion. And what I look for is more, what's your reason for saying it, man? And that was a beautiful answer. So I can say this with confidence. I try not to do this. I really do. But you just maxed out the 5 questions for firefighters. And I don't know if that's happened in a while. I think I don't keep track. So, dude, way to crush it, Mr. Backer.
I appreciate it.
All right, there it is. Officially, Scrap 102 is in the books. Let everyone know the best place to book a class, get a hold of you, reach out to you, get you videos.
The best way is going to be the email. That's robbacker.fdi@gmail.com. FDI for First Due Intelligence. Also have my personal Facebook page. I have First Due Intelligence Facebook and Instagram pages that I'm going to keep my posts on that mostly or exclusively to fire service related stuff, class announcements, invitations, stuff like that. The personal Facebook page, anytime I see someone's a firefighter, I'll accept a friend request. All you're really going to see there is class announcements and whatever my wife tags me in. and you know, any of those are fine. I'm down in classes. I give out my phone number. So if you want to email me or reach out on Facebook or, instant messenger or whatever, hey, what's your phone number? Because I like to text or I like to talk on the phone. I'll give you my phone number. I get so many, I don't think I can possibly get any more spam calls or car warranty calls. So I'll throw my phone number out there too.
Sure thing. Awesome. Bring him in for a class. Westbrook Tier said Cap has some great insight, and if you get a chance to get his class, take it. I agree 100% with Westbrook.
Westbrook's from the Colony, and that was, the Colony was one of the coolest classes ever. Chief Rice brought me in. He trusted me with dealing with his entire department, all 3 shifts. Those guys, that is a department that is dialed the hell in, and those are guys that the ego, they are good at what they do, and they don't have an ego about it. And that, when you get a room full of people like that, who can, any ego they do have, they check it at the door. That's 8 hours of fun,
no doubt.
And that's playtime.
No, it was awesome. Westbrook also said, Corley, take it easy on us truckies. And I love busting truckies balls. The truth of the matter is, if you ever come to Moore, Oklahoma, I'll give you a tour of any of our stations and let you see our rigs and stuff. We don't have truckies. We don't have engine companies. We are the ladder with the bladder. We are the quints, and we jump over and we run with them. But I put this sticker out. It's force, throw, stretch, flow, grab, drag, repeat. And someone asked me, like, why do you have truck assignments, truck duties on your basics, your fundamental sticker? That's because that's the job most of the American Fire Service has, is we're at the drop of a hat, we're going to be one. So take no offense. I know you don't, Westbrook, but
I will say, Thornton's a suburban bedroom community. So we have a truck, but it's not really a truck. It's a Quint. But truckies know engine work. Engine guys know some level of truck work. There's a large part of me that would like to be on the truck and do legit truck work, cutting and braking and forcing and stuff like that. I cannot give up the nozzle. I love being on the line. And the truckies make things work. It wouldn't, there's a reason we have trucks, and that's because engines can't do it by themselves. It is what it is.
He said it, not me. It's not the official stance of the scrap, but just kidding. All right. No, housekeeping coming up. Me and the wife are heading out to celebrate our COVID canceled 25th wedding anniversary. So I'm going out of town next week. If you order stuff, it will be delayed. So just know that coming. And I got to say this, the next 2 guests is Craig Well, actually it was supposed to be Craig Stalloway, but I'm terrible at scheduling and I moved him twice. So he is one of the most gracious people in the fire service, fit to fight fire. And so very gracious that he's allowed me to move him around twice. So coming up next, when I get back into town, is going to be Trey Nelms, out of Nashville. It's going to be awesome. Followed by Steve Robertson, Stretching for Success, followed by Craig Stalloway, followed by Jim McCormick. And that is the rest of September. So Rob, you got to kick this off on the 3rd, and then that's the stellar lineup coming in. So you set the bar pretty high right here out the get-go.
I don't know about that. I set the bar for September, and whether someone can just step over it or jump over it, we'll see.
We'll see. No, dude, you crushed it. I'm telling you right now, you crushed it. I'm looking for a name for the mutt. He's on there. Or not the mutt, sorry. The dog, because mutts don't scrap. And so I'm looking for a name for him. I've got a list of like 30 names right now that people have sent in. Scrappy has the most votes right now if I was going off votes. But because of Scrappy Doo, I don't know if I'm quite going to go with Scrappy. But talking about the coins, Jeffrey Bryant Jr. Fire Nugget sent in the Andy Fredericks coin. It is beautiful. It's going to be added to you can see it's starting to fill up. Slowly but surely, guys. They can't make fun of me anymore. And besides that, mutts don't scrap. The hats are almost sold out. So if you want one, all that's left is the black. There are some on order, but it takes forever. So good luck with that. And I think that's all the housekeeping I had. Yeah, I've got more coins, but I want to make sure I get the numbers right, or who gave them to me right, and get the story right on them. That's it, man. Rob, you just freaking crushed 102.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I tried. I do my best.
I'm serious. I'm going to go back and watch it just to take notes, because just when you broke down smoke color, it was like, holy crap, here comes some knowledge. Anyway, audience, I love you as always. Thanks for being here. I hope the tone stays silent unless it's burning. Stay safe out there.